Hey, Captain Logos here, preacher at large, teaching the word, inspiring, 3 minutes at a time. Hey, the other day I had a question asked. Individual was wondering about the Levitical law, otherwise known as the law. They asked the question is, they understood that we don't need the law for salvation, but why don't we still follow the law? Where does it say in the Bible that we don't have to follow the law? And so my first question back to them was, where does it say that we have to follow the law? Right? And so we have to understand who the law was given to and what the law was for. Because just asking that question, there's a lot of assumptions when you ask that question that is put into that question that you may not realize it. And the reason was, well, I don't see where it says that we can stop following the law. And then, so that's what you call answering from the negative. I don't see. Right? It's sort of like, for a long time, archaeologists, said there's no such thing as King David in the Bible. We've never seen a reference to him. And so they're arguing from the negative. Well, there's no evidence, so it must not be true. Well, lo and behold, they finally uncovered some stuff recently. Shows inscriptions of the house of David and the kingdom of David. So, you can't argue from the negative. You can only argue from the positive. Otherwise, it'll come back to haunt you. The other thing is the body of evidence. So you have to look at everything that the scriptures have and look at the whole body of evidence surrounding the law. Because a lot of people are just looking for one verse, but sometimes the answer is not as simple as that, right? So what is the law for? You have to understand what the law is for, first of all, to understand who it applies to and who it doesn't apply to, right? Well, the law was to bring us to Christ. The law was to show us that we can't make it to heaven on our own. The law was to show us that it's not our righteousness, but it's God's righteousness, and that we can't even be righteous without God. Right? Hosea 6:6 says, "For I desire mercy and not sacrifice." There's other verses in Hebrews that talks about it's better to obey than to sacrifice. Jesus actually referred to Hosea 6:6 in Matthew 12:7 when they're going to crucify him, and they're like, if you knew what it meant, I desire mercy and not sacrifice, you would not be condemning the guiltless. Right? Galatians 3:13 says, Christ redeemed us from the law, from the curse of the law. Galatians 5:18 says, if you are led by the Spirit, you're not under the law. So here's just a few verses that talk about the whole body of evidence of why we don't follow the law. And then the last verse I want to give you pretty much says it straight forth, but not every answer is like this, right? You have to look at that whole body of evidence. So that's why I started with, okay, what's the law for? In Romans 10:4, it says, for Christ is the end of the law for righteousness to everyone who believes. Remember I said the law was to show us that our righteousness, we can't make it, right? Yeah, that's what Romans 10:4 is saying. We had to have God. We had to have Christ come and be our righteousness for us. Now, it says there in Romans 10:4, to everyone who believes. So here's the negative side of the question, or the answer. If you don't know Christ as your Lord and Savior, then you are under the law, right? No mercy, no grace. And if there's one sin, there must be one death. Aren't you thankful today that we don't have to live under the law, that we can live under grace, that we can live under mercy through what Jesus Christ did for the price that he paid and for him fulfilling the law? Now, look at your face in the Bible.